Welcome back to my channel Nose Explained, and here is the poem Wind, which is written by Subramania Bharati, and this poem is translated from the Tamil, which was actually written by A.K. Ramanujan. Subramania Bharati, 1888 to 1921. He was a Tamil poet, writer, journalist, activist, a social reformer who was famous for his patriotism in the pre-independence era. So we can see a multi-talented person. He was a poet, also a writer, journalist, activist, a social reformer as well. That means a person who works for the good of the society, who reforms the society. And he was very famous for his patriotism, the devotion that he had for his country. He supported his country very much whenever anything wrong happened. And it was all during the pre independence era. I hope so everyone can understand what is a pre-independence era. That means before independence it would be pre-independence era. So we all know that India was totally dominated by the Britons before the independence. So Subramania Bharati was also a leader, a person who strongly supported India and its freedom fighters. He was popularly known as Mahakavi Bharati. He was a pioneer of modern Tamil poetry and is considered one of the greatest Tamil literary figures of all time. So, many writers were evolved in Tamil, but he was a pioneer of modern Tamil poetry. He was the one whom everyone followed. He was a leader type who wrote different type of poetries, different type of writings. So he became the pioneer of modern Tamil poetry, and he was considered one of the greatest Tamil literary figures. That means he wrote very good works. That's why he was considered to be one of the greatest Tamil literary figures. His numerous works included furious songs kindling patriotism during the Indian independence movement. That means whatever works he had written were all based on the topic patriotism. He also wrote about the fiery songs related to the topic patriotism, and it was all during the Indian independence movement, or we can also say it was during the pre-independence era. A.K. Ramanujan. He was an Indian poet, scholar, professor, translator, and playwright who wrote both in English and Kannada language. So, he was an Indian who was a poet, scholar as well, professor, translator, and playwright. So, he was a multi talented person and he wrote in two languages, that is, Hindi and Kannada language. So Kannada is a language that is spoken in Karnataka, that is South India. He was also well known for his translation of classical and modern poetry. Now, classical poetry refers to the poetry that existed or that were written long time back, or we can also say the poetry that were written by the Greeks or the Romans. Those were the classical poetries, and even the modern poetry. So he wrote in a number of genres, that means in a number of styles that existed. And he was also awarded the famous award, that is the Sahitya Academy Award, in 1999 for the work, the collected poems, and many other awards. So for the work, the collected poems, he won the award, Sahitya Academy Award, in 1999, and along with this, he also got many other awards for many other works. Here starts the poem Wind, where we can roughly divide the poem into three parts. The first would be suggestion, the second would be the effect created by wind, and the third part can be divided as hope or the positive behavior that the people should have whenever wind appears. So let's see the first part, that is the suggestion part. Here the poet tries to say, wind, come slowly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. So, it's suggesting the wind that whenever you come, please come softly. Please come silently. And whenever you come, don't break the shutters of the windows, because we can all Imagine that if a window is open, or if windows are open, it keeps on opening and closing the window, and it makes the sound, and sometimes it even breaks the window panes. So it is trying to tell the wind that please don't break the shutters of the winds, or the two parts of the winds. The next, in the third line, it was trying to say, that means the poet was trying to say, that don't scatter the papers. By chance the papers are left on the table and the wind appears, it would totally scatter the papers, and all the papers will be unscrambled. So the poet was trying to suggest the wind that please, whenever you come, please come softly and silently, and the papers should remain on the table in a uniform manner rather than not scattering it. The next point would be, don't throw down the books on the shelf. So the books are well arranged on the shelf. Please don't come in a very harsh or rude manner and throw away all the books that are there on the shelf. So please come softly and silently, and don't break the shutters, don't scatter the papers, and don't throw the books. These are the four requests that the poet had towards the wind. Here comes the second part of the poem, where we can see how the poet explained about the effects created by the wind. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You're very clever at poking fun at weaklings. So, in the first four lines, we can say that how the poet was angry at the wind, because in the first four lines, we saw how the poet requested the wind to come slowly and silently, and not to shutter the windows, not to scatter the papers, not to throw down the books, and blow very silently and softly. But what did the wind do? Did the wind listen to the poet? No. Rather, it threw them all down. All the things were ravished and thrown down. All the pages of the books were torn, and along with the wind, it also brought rain with it. And the poet was telling that you're very clever at poking fun at weaklings. That means wherever there is any weak thing, or wherever there is a thing ready to be broken at just a second, the wind was making fun at it by really breaking it. So that's why the poet said that you're very clever at poking fun at weaklings, the thing which is ready to be broken down. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The poet here wanted to explain how the wind brought ravishes, or brought destruction to the whole society. The frail, crumbling houses, it referred to the weak houses that were totally crumbled by the wind. They were totally crumbled because they were very weak. We can also say they were poorly built, for which the wind had crumbled them. The doors were crumbled because of their weak structure. The rafters were crumbled. Now, rafters means the beam or the structure made for making a roof. So, before the roof is made, some structure is made. That is called the rafter. And the rafter was crumbled by the wind. Again, the wood which were very weak, or which were about to be, or we can also say the weak wood, those were crumbled. The crumbled bodies, the people who were very much weak, the very old people, the babies were crumbled. The crumbling lives, crumbling hearts, many hearts were broken down. Why? Because of the destruction that were caused. Many financially poor people, they were crumbled, because they were crumbled in the sense their hearts were crumbled, because with much hard labor they were able, or they had afford to make their houses, but their houses were now totally destroyed by the wind. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. He won't do what you tell him. So the poet was telling here that the wind god, whoever god may be, there there are many people who used to believe in different types of god. We can also say the sun god, the wind god, and many others. So here, the wind god winnows and crushes them all. Winnows means whenever the heavier materials are left over and the light materials are thrown or blown out, that is called winnowing. So the wind god winnowed everything, all the weak things, and crushed them all. And at last, what did he say? That means, what did the poet say? He said that the wind god wouldn't do what you tell him. Because in the first four lines, the poet had already suggested the wind not to do this and not to do that. But did the wind listen? No. So that's why, just because of the destruction, the poet said that no, whatever you say, the wind would not listen, would never listen, and it would do whatever it wishes to. Here comes the last point where we have seen how the poet had given a hope that in spite of the suggestion, the wind did not listen to the suggestion, the effects were caused. But in spite of the effects, we have to be strong enough, we have to remain positive, we have to have the faith and hope so that the wind would not be able to crumble or to ravish all the things in the society or the weaklings. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body, make the heart steadfast. So, here again the poet was suggesting everyone that see, the wind was able to crumble the weak homes only. Only the weaklings were totally crumbled, but not the strong homes. So let us make strong homes and the wind would not be able to crumble us down. See, so come, let's build strong homes. Here he is strongly suggesting everyone that make your home strong so that no one would be able to shatter your homes once again. Let's join the doors firmly, make the doors strong enough and firm so that no one would be able to crumble and ravish the things once again. Practice to form the body and make the heart steadfast. So, whatever, maybe some people were affected by the wind. So, be firm and make the body firm. Repair your body. Once again, be cured from the pain that you had. Make the heart steadfast. Be strong enough and don't shatter your tears. Do this and the wind will be friends with us. And see what is the positive sentence that he said later? That yes, do these things and the wind will be friends with us. Because whenever you build strong homes, no one will be your enemies. He would rather be strong enough and be friends with you. Because not even a single home was ravished, only the weak ones. And now be friends with the wind. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes the strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. The imagery used here is an excellent example of the wind, where the wind blows out the weak fires. Yes, really, wherever we see a weak fire burning and a strong wind blows at that moment, obviously the weak fire would be blown out. But if there is a slight strong fire burning somewhere and at that moment wind appears, the fire would really roar out and flourish. It would flourish into a big fire. So it's a very good example that wind blows the weak fires and it makes the strong fires roar and flourish. So also, whenever your homes, your things are weak enough, the wind will blow them away and crumble them. But whenever the things and homes are strong enough, it would not even dare to crumble and devastate into pieces. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. So these two lines are very important because all through the poem we have read the literal meaning. We understood the literal meaning where we saw the poet suggesting the wind to come softly and not to destroy the things. But the wind did not listen to anyone. It did its own work and silently passed away and left the things shaken. The people were heartbroken because of the destructions caused by the wind. Again, the poet told everyone that don't build weak homes, build strong homes, because wind does not affect the strong ones, it only affects the weak things. So, so we can also say the metaphorical meaning here, that life is full of challenges. Life is a journey of good times and bad times. Whenever we are undergo bad times, that represents the wind. That means whenever we undergo the bad times, wind is the one that always shatters us. Because whenever we are downhearted, whenever we are very weak enough, whenever we are much down and upset, the wind or the challenges or the obstacles overcome us. They are more, they make us suffer more, because we are not strong enough to fight back. But if we are strong enough, if we remain positive, if after seeing or after observing the obstacles and challenges, if we fight back and remain strong, no one dares to destroy us, no one dares to crumble us down. So we ultimately win at that moment. So the last two lines explains it very well, that his friendship is a very good one. It tells us, or it teaches us a life lesson, where we should be strong enough and make friends with the wind, or make friends with the challenges and obstacles that comes in our life. Because whenever we are strong, whenever obstacles come, whenever we are strong, whenever we make friendship with them, we are able to fight back and show them our real faces. So we should praise him every day. Praise him in the sense, we should praise the wind every day, because of their quality or of their characteristics we are whatever today. That means if we make friends with them, if we are strong enough, if we are determined enough, we remain strong. Not even a single obstacle can shatter us down or can make us shed our tears. So now let's see what are the literary devices used in the poem Wind. First of all, let's say personification. We all know what's the meaning of personification. Whenever non-living things are given life and talked as if they are having life, that is called personification. So, in this poem, we saw how the wind is an abstract idea, but the poet gave it life and talked as if it would listen to him and not destroy the weaklings. The next would be repetition. We have seen that the word crumbling had been used a number of times in the poem. Alliteration. Alliteration is a repetition of a sound in a line. So here in the poem, in the last part, we can see the repetition of the F sound is used in the line, strong fires roar and flourish. So fires F and flourish the sound F. So it's repeated. The last would be the rhyming scheme. We have seen the first two or three poems, the rhyming scheme that was strictly followed, but this is another poem where no rhyming scheme had been followed. So here comes the end of a very beautiful poem that was actually translated by Subramania Bharati, which gives us a very meaningful lesson in life.